Hey everyone, how's it going? Chris here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you about recording the electric guitar at home. If you have been thinking about doing the same this year, obviously with the pandemic and the world how it is, a lot of us are having to resort to home recording, and that might be something that you're doing for the first time. So if that is the case, I'm hoping this video will give you some good advice and things to consider when you are looking to record at home. So let's start by talking about the two most traditional ways to record the electric guitar. The first and most traditional is recording the guitar amplifier using a microphone. Now, this is going to give you the most accurate representation of what your guitar sounds like. We all love the sound of amplifiers, especially, your kind of valve amps. They are just going to give you such a good characteristic. But the downside of guitar amps is they're pretty loud. And if you are looking to record at home, depending where you live, if you live in an apartment or you're kind of sharing your house with other people, then it's a bit of a consideration because, hey, we love playing guitar and we love listening to it, but not everyone does, and you don't want to upset the neighbours. So recording at home with an amplifier, it's a great option if you do have the means to do it, but there are just some things that you'll need to consider with volume. Now, the second way to record guitar at home, and the way that I do it personally, is using an audio interface and plugging the guitar straight into the computer. Now, an audio interface is just a device that takes the analog signal from you playing your guitar, and all it does is convert it into a digital signal that you can then use to record on your computer. Now, audio interfaces come in all shapes and sizes, and they can tailor to pretty much all budgets. I think the common misconception when looking at building a home recording studio is the initial outlay of expense, because hey, this year is difficult enough as it is without having to worry about money, but I'm here to reassure you that it's not actually that expensive to get started recording guitar at home. Audio interfaces can range from maybe £100 all the way up to thousands of pounds if you want them to. And the main things that are going to determine those prices are going to be the quality of components and normally the amount of inputs that you have on that interface, which will determine how many things you can basically plug in and record at one time. Now, the most accessible of these is probably going to be the USB audio interfaces. Now, these just come with a standard USB cable that you just plug straight into your computer, and they're normally pretty affordable. I use the Audient ID14. It's a USB interface. It has two microphone inputs and the input which allows you to plug a guitar straight into it using what they call direct input or a DI. This one runs for about £160 and it actually sounds really, really good. So the benefit of this is that you can pretty much record at any time of day without having to worry about volume. Now, the downside of using a kind of audio interface and recording direct into the computer is that you do kind of lose the characteristics that you would get with a guitar amp. Having said that, the software available these days for emulating guitar amps is actually pretty good. Now, the guitar piece that I recorded at the start of this video, that was all recorded directly into the computer, and I think that sounds pretty good. So, we've discussed the audio interface, but now we actually need to record that audio somewhere. And for that, you will need a DAW or a digital audio workstation. Now, there are loads and loads of options to consider here. A lot of the interfaces that you buy may have versions of DAWs free of charge when you purchase them that you can just download. Now, these will have some limited functionality compared to the full license, but it's a great way to get started. I personally use Logic Pro 10. You might also have heard of Pro Tools, which is the other kind of industry standard DAW, but there are other options available, such as Ableton. So it's really just a case of finding one that is comfortable for you to use, or if you've never used a DAW before, then you have kind of free rein to choose whichever one you feel is best for the type of music that you're looking to record. Now, I love Logic Pro 10 because it has a load of built-in plugins and amp modelers which really help you sculpt the tone of your electric guitar if you are plugging directly into your audio interface. The great thing about Logic is that you can also use effects, and you've obviously got all of the EQ and tonal controls available to you just to really help you sculpt the perfect guitar tone for your track. Now, the final thing that you're going to need to consider is how you're going to listen back to your recordings when you're actually playing. You have two options here. You can either use studio monitors or speakers. These are the things that normally kind of flank your PC, and what that will allow you to do is it will allow you to listen back to whatever it is that you're recording. But you might fall into the same trap that you fall into if you were to mic an amplifier. If there's any sound coming into the room, that is going to have an impact on the time of day that you can record, and it's just something that is a consideration that people like to take into account. What I do is I monitor using headphones. So with headphones, there are loads and loads of options on the market. You can spend not very much money, or you can blow the budget and get something really, really high end. My one piece of advice to you when looking at headphones is just to check the frequency response of those headphones. That's going to determine how accurately they recreate the sound of what you've recorded. Some headphones are going to colour the sound, especially more kind of consumer-based headphones that you might find. So things that you might just use when you're going for your run, or if you're just listening to music casually. Some of those are coloured in so much that the actual frequencies that they recreate are actually boosted or cut in certain frequencies to make it a more kind of enjoyable listening experience for the everyday listener. But when you're mixing music, you don't want to have any of that coloration of sound. You want it to be as flat a frequency response as possible. You're also going to want to make sure that they can monitor based on the frequencies that you want to listen to. Some headphones are limited. They can't necessarily pick up really high frequencies or really low frequencies. So depending on the music that you make, just make sure that you're checking to see if your headphones can really help you recreate and directly emulate that sound as accurately as possible. Obviously, the benefit of headphones is that you can listen to them whenever you want in complete silence, which means if you are having late night recording sessions at home, you're not going to annoy anyone. And that's definitely important. So I really hope that you found this video useful. There are so many ways that you can record at home. You can have really elaborate and complex setups, but if you are just looking to record your guitar, if you're doing overdubs on songs that people are sending to you, then there's no need to have loads of equipment and spend loads of money. I hope you found some value in this, and if you do have any questions based on anything that I've covered, just leave them in a comment down below. I'll make sure to get back to you and give you any more advice that you need. If you did find it useful, then please make sure to give the video a thumbs up. It really does help the channel grow in these early days, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell to get notified when I post new videos. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.